Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Fallout 3. So, we only have this desert quest, the local flavor, left to do as far as DLC, not desert. Um, and these radio stations, as far as the, radio signal Oscar Tango, there is a decent chance that I haven't found all of these, but I'm very possibly would just never find them. The thing I do want to do though is I want to get the Keller family refuge, which ends up at the National Guard Depot codes. So, the first one that I may have missed would be somewhere around here. Let's see. Bottom shelf of the bookcase. So, inside this building, bottom shelf of a bookcase. Where? Where? We already did that. I probably need to just straight up look at the pictures that are available. It's supposed to be at the pylon shack, which means it's very possibly not in this building. Right. Travel to this location, then head north following the electrical towers until you reach a pylon shack. Oh, okay. So, north, this way. And we're so overpowered and we just don't care. We can decide to just walk this direction and ignore practically everything. Albino rad scorpions can be still a bit of a hassle. So we have some interesting visual effects happening in the middle of the night here with God rays is I think what they're called showing up, but then they just disappeared off the screen. It's not God rays, it's literally blood showing up on the screen. So you were supposed to basically follow these electrical lines as if that was a clear description.
Hey. Where?
And we just have a hostile wastelander and a hostile wastelander, both of which are ghouls. I have no idea why they'd specifically be hostile to me unless I did something in killing people. So there's transcript number 1. And if everything was just kept in a nice little folder, then wow. If everything was kept in a nice little folder, it would be super easy for that to bring up the it'd be super easy to bring up that folder to the notes, and since we've got a new piece of that class of information, so then I could know if I've gotten the other ones or not. I'm just wasting time lockpicking over here. There's a pre-war book. And another mini nuke. So this is kind of a big location. I mean, certainly wouldn't be something you would just want to miss completely. But it doesn't. We don't have a folder, so let's just listen.
Your brother, Alex? Listen, Mom would kill me if she knew I was contacting you, but she's being an impossible bitch right now. You have to
Interesting
come home.
cussing.
You understand me? This thing with China, it's not going away. We're gonna try and get into one of those vaults. If that doesn't work, well, I have a backup plan. There's this secure bunker, another sort of vault, inside the National Guard depot, and... Look, no matter what it takes, the whole damn Keller family's gonna ride this storm out, but you've got to get your ass home. Now.
So, I think if we were to show where we are here, the next tape would be over here. So, the odds of you running into that tape first, it's kind of low. And so, Hollow Moors Cemetery. Never really got enough of a backstory as far as what the centaurs are all about, other than they seem to just be other versions of super mutants that can evolve with the forced evolution virus, the FEV virus. I don't know if that guy was even trying to kill me. And that would have been... Let's see. Right here is where the next one would have been. We had already gotten that one. Then the next one is at the Grizzly Diner. And we got that one.
Come on, boys. Fresh meat.
Let's see.
I'm gonna tear you. It's go time.
And with just like one hit killing.
It's go time.
Let's see, on the desk on the back outside. And just... Yeah. So it was... Here was the third tape. Then the next one is at Rockbreaker's Last Guess, which I have no idea where that would be. But the idea that I wouldn't have found it is basically completely unbelievable. Oh, by the way, there is a Bethesda, Maryland, which at one time did have Bethesda's HQ headquarters in it. And I think it is worth mentioning that this game is so long that I've now gotten the damaged RAM and put it back into gotten replacement for my damaged RAM and put it in this computer. Microsoft has acquired Bethesda and ZeniMax, and most recently, as of this recording, they have announced the eventual abandonment of the Bethesda launcher, which was a pretty bad launcher anyways. Never really supported a lot of games other than the small selection of Bethesda games. You would think that it would be somewhere around here. But there's just so many different places. There we go. So it's way over here. Would be the next one. So at most,
Hostile.
here we have an Enclave soldier. And an Enclave scientist. And we'll just shoot that guy. Lot of explosions happening here. Not like any of that's gonna hurt me. Suppose this slightly does spice up the idea of revisiting a few places when you can fast travel and just be immediately introduced into a firefight with the Enclave. But it really shouldn't happen that way. Like, you shouldn't be surprised. You shouldn't be surrounded. You shouldn't potentially die just because you fast travel to a location when you're focusing on something completely different. Alright, and where were we going? Look to the west. On the top of the hill, you'll see the abandoned shack at the hill. Head around the cliff. On the southwest side of the cliff, there may be some super mutants. Get into the shack. Okay. Yeah. Unless this was the shack with the other intelligent super mutant. Yeah. It would be really hard to write a story here where two intelligent super mutants figured out a way to create super mutants and propagate and kind of move away from their asexual form and got back to some way in which they could make more super mutants that weren't quite as bad, so they wouldn't be hunted down by the Brotherhood of Steel. Yeah, I don't think I was over here. Little physics knocked the things over. So that creates kind of a weird scenario where there very likely is not much of a reason that you would expect super mutants to exist in any sequel game to this. Come on. Come on. Of course, we have like 60 bobby pins, and there's not that much game left, so I can just burn through quite a few of these. I don't want to force this just in case, but it really is in case of what? The odds are really zero that there would be something here that you couldn't get. Well, I'll be darned. There's a victory rifle. Right. A named gun actually behind a locked thing. Do believe that's the only time we've seen that. with the level 30 DLC, it probably wouldn't have hurt if there was some kind of passive perk you got when you got to level 30 where named items started spawning or had a small chance of spawning outside of their location at random. Well, we're down to 50.
No more hiding for you. Hurry up and die.
Apparently that guy just got home. There's transcript 4 or 5. Let's listen to that. Actually, I want to look at this weapon. 39 sniper rifle, .308 ammo. And we can look at it and just play with it. But a lot of these sniper rifles definitely feel out of place in this game.
Ralphie, son, this is your father. We can't get into the goddamn vault without you. Get your ass over here now. My 4 is useless without you, boy.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense that you would have this whole separated out code. You would give either individualized codes to everybody to let them in, or you'd give everybody the same code. The idea potentially of see, that doesn't make any sense that Talon mercenaries would still be spawning. Really, this gun is not going to be able to hit for a full kill. So low firepower and low magazine makes that a useless weapon. Same is kind of true for the captain's sidearm. You would think if the skills go up to 100, the amount of damage you could do with a weapon would also be close to 100, but obviously that's not true. And then the last one is let's see, way over here at the Anchorage Memorial. So it's not even like you can say these codes are all in the top half of the map. Anchorage Memorial is clearly in the lower half. This is interesting that you have planes landing here, I assume to spawn some Enclave. Yep. And how far would I have to go to be able to fast travel away from these guys? Just run in this general direction and see if that's far enough away. Apparently that was. Okay. So Anchorage Memorial. You have these guys that we saw the picture that led to this memorial. So now that we kind of know the story of the Anchorage Memorial and the liberation of Anchorage, Alaska from the Chinese, we kind of now know when this happened and what this was all about. I think in reality there is probably a memorial here, but it's probably not something they wanted to cover, or not something that impactful that removing it and replacing it would really matter. I wouldn't be surprised actually if there actually is no memorial here on this location. Alright. Says head northeast. Across the river there's a semi truck with a tent behind it with centaurs guarding it. Okay, so here we go. What is this? Just a pile of fish guts, I guess. Alright. May have to zoom in a little bit. Okay, it said northeast. Across the river there's a semi truck with a tent behind it. Semi truck with a tent behind it. Looks like something just fell from the sky. Semi truck with the tent behind it. I don't see a semi truck with a tent behind us. So, northeast, maybe behind a building. That's... Is it this semi-truck way over there? Maybe. I don't even know what they mean by semi-truck in this game, because we kind of have been seeing trucks. Not so much semi-trucks. This is northwest. Yeah. So the guide I'm looking at is wrong. Yeah. I would not call these semi-trucks. I'd call this a truck. And I'd call that a truck. Here we hear somebody screaming for help. Please, someone.
No more games. Time to die.
So. This would have been a super mutant regular if I didn't have the Brotherhood of Steel, the Broken Steel DLC installed, which apparently raises up the level. There we go.
Thank you. Here, I managed. You'd know better.
Gain some karma. And so we have hit this here. Another signal. Ammunition boxes with, I'm sure, nothing of importance in them. Magnum armor. ammo. Take some bobby pins, sure. Now, I do know that there is like a cage like this somewhere that if you open it, it will summon a super mutant behemoth. But I seriously doubt I'd ever find it. And I don't know. No, I do know for a fact that it's not really worth our time at this point. We're getting at least 90% of this game done, which is still well over double what I did when I first played this game. And it definitely left a bitter aftertaste in my mouth.
There's no way in hell I'm spending nuclear Armageddon trapped with him in a fucking closet. You can have my number. It's 6. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got a mushroom cloud to walk into. Have a happy Holocaust.
Now we have all the codes, hopefully. Yep, it definitely left a bitter aftertaste in my mouth when I played just Fallout 3. Didn't have the DLC, finished the game, and could not play any further, or could play, but I would just have to reload from the last save file. I don't think it was quite a situation where it made a save file that locked me into anything. I have no idea. I guess we're going for the armory. And that's just a radio that's on. Okay. If I recall correctly, this is the one that kind of has the door. Yeah. Yeah, we can hear the door is even open. I think if I just jump down here. Yep, this door is open. This door leads down this way and into the... Great. And then we could get into this area, and here we have things I dropped on the floor. But we couldn't get past this because we didn't have the code. We should have the code now. Access granted. See, you don't type in the code. It's not another digit input like at the end of the game in the water project purity area. You don't even see it get typed in. And it leads to what I guess is the closest thing to the equivalent of a vault that anybody else managed to build. I guess storyline wise. And I'm seeing a lot of scrap metal, which would have been useful but clearly unnecessary for leveling up. Seeing a lot of otherwise nothing. You'd think that there would be a bobblehead behind such a complicated quest, or honestly you would think that there would actually just be a quest around this once you found one of the notes where they would tell you to find the rest of them for yeah, you would make a quest just called Family Reunion or something, and we have a glowing one, so without the radiation shielding / purification technology of Vault-Tec, just building a bunker underground, it's not good enough. Maybe that's a mistake. It potentially could have been useful, particularly when they were trying to make Fallout 76, if they implied that a lot more people survived and it wasn't just because they were all in a vault. Like, Fallout 76, according to the lore here, is supposed to have only 500 people in it. That looked like a named weapon. Experimental MIRV. Seems like that might fire 8 mini nukes at a time. There is something that also needs to be certainly addressed on the idea of Vault-Tec. Just the amount of toilet paper alone that a vault would need. Like, there's one missile silo in the real world that I've seen that's designed for billionaires, if not trillionaires, and it can hold about 75 people for about 5 years before it probably starts to break down and run out of resources. It's not... It would just be that initial impact of any bombing, and the amount of megatons that it actually can support. There's one body. Here's another. That's 2. That's 3. It's like maybe, I think the vaults that I've seen in the real world can take a direct strike from like a 1 megaton at most bomb, whereas that really eliminates the idea of any 10 megaton nuclear explosions. It doesn't really address nuclear winter and escaping and going on from that point. And all that really goes to show is that these kinds of vaults don't have practical use except to ease the paranoia of very rich people. Now, there are scenarios where something like a vault makes sense. If you're talking tornadoes, that makes sense. If you're talking flooding, no, it doesn't make any sense to have a vault underground. But, yeah. One second. I'm gonna be right back. Pause the video. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Someone was knocking on my door. Let's see. Yeah. There's really only a couple of reasons why you would want a kind of vault. Now, if the technology changed completely, then there might be something more to it than that. But, like, if you could really stay for 100 years, 200 years in a vault, that might help you. Then these kinds of Fallout vaults would make more sense. Sorry, I'm still trying to read. Let's see, it's trying to explain this whole story of the family like I really even care at this point. Three bodies, one glowing one. I'm having to click a whole different. Yeah. 30 handy flamethrower recipes. Should be somewhere around here. And that's it. So, there isn't even a power suit here. I got my wires crossed at some point. In a lot of ways, this is just the equivalent of a tornado shelter. And it does answer a question that probably needed to be answered, to say, yes, there wasn't a high chance. Here it is. A book. There was a very low chance that anybody would survive, and that most of the people who would have survived would turn into ghouls. This wouldn't have been a terrible place to set up as kind of your own home location if you had nowhere else to go. Start with something like this and then build it up and work with it more. And see how they put this whole electrical switch so you don't get locked out. But yeah, that's a lot of work for a disappointing amount of results. A lot of work. Right. Now we've got to figure out how to get upstairs. Get up the stairs and out to the wasteland. In a lot of ways, that's just the problem with this game in a nutshell, is that there's often way too much work for way too little reward. And if they had just kind of thought things through a little bit better and made a more linear, more connected game instead of this giant open world game where there's a lot of garbage. Yeah, speaking of garbage, there's something clipping through the floor here and I couldn't even tell you what it is. Yeah, we'd think the National Guard Depot was more than that. Right. We can generically walk in a direction here until we run into an enemy, and we can try this MIRV, which I think MIRV implies it's going to shoot off a nuke that would then maybe shoot out other nukes. We've got like 8 nukes at once, which that's insane, frankly. Like, even if you're going to only use this against super mutant behemoths, you'd run out of enemies to fight or bullets to fire very quickly. And it's not like you can craft mini nukes at all. So once these 36 mini nukes, which we've collected, are gone, I would suspect there's maybe 2 or 3 in the game that I missed, and that would be it. If you told me there was 50 in the entire game, and I have 44 of them right now, that would make sense. 8 plus 36. Yeah, and when you're just trolling out here looking for an enemy, it's still not working. Like, something random should have spawned by now. We should have run into a Enclave soldier or Talon mercenary, a robot, anything. one of these Enclave bases that are, and I wouldn't even really call them bases, one of the Enclave clusters that we already visited had these turrets, and there was supposed to be something on the person of the Enclave officer that would cause the turrets to not fire on whoever was holding that badge, that key. Maybe I picked it up, maybe I didn't. Yeah, this is just ridiculous. And if I was doing anything of importance right now, what I'd be doing is walking the long distance to the riverboat landing. So should just fast travel over here and mark where we're going. Nope, it is broken once again. And I couldn't really care less if this DLC took me to a whole different area or Talon Company mark. 2% chance of hitting the guy. There. Yeah. And that really just goes to highlight you can never use that weapon. It's insanity. You would go through your ammo so quickly, and you wouldn't have the opportunity to buy any other ammo. Is there room for some kind of infinite ammo thing? I mean, we're at the end of the game, but we're not done with everything. There definitely could have been a perk that would have said something like sometimes you actually don't use a bullet when you fire. Sorry. I was moving my phone as I was... I wonder if this is just supposed to be a Talon Company location. It looks like it might be. Is there any real value in taking down a Talon Company stronghold like this, though? I don't think anymore there would be. You'd have to also assume that these ammunition boxes might start giving you mini nukes if you use mini nukes, but we just used 8 of them, so they'd have to give us an incredibly high number of mini nukes, and I don't think that's really how that works. There's not really anything here, which I'm not really surprised that there's not really anything here. Adventure. Structure. Attention. Deactivate turret system. Take some bottle caps. Not that there really is a reason for it. Still, I guess, looking for bobby pins. Flame fuel. Probably could play with a flame weapon. You almost certainly could play with a missile launcher. But you can't really play with a nuke launcher. So, knowing that, if I was the director of this game, I would have said, hey, let's get the mini nukes and the nuke launchers out of being just general things you can collect. Let's instead make them really big, important things that happen very infrequently. That you get like one potential nuke launcher and one mini nuke for very big firefights, and that's it. And then probably also scale up just how much radiation and how much damage is done. Yeah, and the local map here is not really going to tell me anything, is it? Seems like this way you just hit a wall. Yeah. Yeah. I think you just kind of hit a wall here and it says you can't go any further in this direction. Yep. They don't even bother to give you any other reason than that. They could tell you something simplistic like the Pit Boy detects extreme danger in this direction, death 100% certain, or the Pit Boy must receive a signal from Vault 101, otherwise it'll explode, and thus you have to stay within a certain distance of Vault 101. Here's a missile launcher if we needed one. So yeah, I don't care if this DLC takes me to a whole new place. I'm fine with that. I don't care if it takes me to a completely different location. Let's see if we've been in this sewer. I bet we haven't. Do we care enough to search the sewer? Yeah. Let's see. Just try and speed run through a sewer area full of raiders. Let's see what's behind this door. Let's see. And if this is part of the DLC, then whoops. Yeah, just leave him. Metal helmet. Force this open. Chinese pistol. Metal armor. Silenced. Just taking everything. Is there anything more down here? Is there anything on this layer? Doesn't look like it. Back up we go. Is there anything on this layer? No. Anything on this layer? That. Let's go down this way now. We can check the local map to see if there's anything special here. If I move too fast, there's definitely that chance that I would miss some switch or secret thing. Isn't this just where we were? Yep. So it is an attempt on some verticality, attempt on dual paths. Bunch of metal boxes. Some rounds and things. But nothing. No named item, no books, no bobbleheads, obviously. Alright, so this is just another disconnected sewer that even when Skyrim did this, it got very tiresome near the end, where I would have preferred fewer micro dungeons like this and more storyline reasons why I might go check out a sewer like this. You know, the only thing, the thing that would be the most disappointing as far as this riverboat landing would be if it just wants us to go collect a bunch of food and it's a very short quest and it's like an extremely different quest that we're doing at the very end of our experience here. Although I don't think that's what this is. Unless I've completely misremembered, there was a story where a Chinese guy got shot down and has been surviving 200 years, I don't know how, and he just wants to go home, and you go on kind of this journey to send him back to China, although it doesn't really tell you what China is like at this point 200 years in the future. But yeah, that would be my guess as to what this story is. I'm probably telling it completely inaccurately and wrong. You have here a very different looking boat. If anything, it feels like this is going to take you.
Are you going to Point Lookout? I need your help. My daughter stowed away on the Duchess Gambit a few weeks ago, and I've been worried sick ever since. I haven't heard anything from her, but if you're going there, could you look for her? Please, I'll do anything to help.
Okay, let's be nice.
Oh, bless you. Her name is Nadine, and she left a couple of weeks ago. Said she wanted to see the world. Silly little thing that she is. That Tobar said he dropped her off at Point Lookout, but who knows what's happened to her since then.
So we're going to Point Lookout. I have no idea what that is. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a like spooky DLC Halloween style. And Borderlands did that, certainly. They had a whole DLC that was Halloween themed, and that worked fine. But Borderlands also has the wonderful storytelling mechanic where every story is at least in part an exaggeration from a storyteller and not an actual depiction of actual events. So DLC can, every bit of DLC in Borderlands 1, for instance, started with the storyteller telling a new story.
Only that it's where Tobar gets those punga fruits he sells off. Must be making a good profit off of them, too.
Punga
I
fruits.
hear rumors the place is full of swamps and killer plants, but I don't know about all that.
Okay. Yeah.
She's about
It
your
doesn't
age, and
seem
when
like
she
this is
left, her
gonna-
hair was dyed bright orange. You shouldn't have any problem recognizing her.
It's
She
probably
told
not
me
going
she
to take you
wanted to go
down
find her
the
fortune,
Mississippi to
but I
like
thought it was too
Louisiana or
dangerous.
something like
I
that.
should have known better than to say that. Moment I
It's-
told her she couldn't go, it was just a matter of time before she ran off.
I mean, my guess is that this is still somewhere on the East Coast.
Please, find my daughter.
So we're given this quest. Is it an actual quest? No, doesn't really seem like it. And we can read or pretend to read this. Pause now if you want to read this. Pause now if you want to read this. Pause now if you want to read this. Doesn't seem like the note is secretly some encoded message or hateful thing. 200 years in the future, it is a slight good sign that there isn't just entire paranoia that some of these survivors might be actually Chinese spies or communists or whatever. They seem to have better things to deal with. Interesting mole rat rug and just a lot of trash and a different kind of design here. Here's a sign we've never seen before. And they're definitely playing around with some of the size and scale of some of these other 3D models. Yeah. This kind of feels a little bit like a love shack. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find out the punja fruits are actually like addictive or hallucinogenic. I guess we're just going to talk to the guy. Yep. If you've got a boat that's working, why is it important to go to Point Lookout? And once you've established that anybody has even one boat that's working, then there should be multiple boats that are working. What kind of diesel fuel or is the engine running off of would be a good question.
Welcome, my friend. I am Tovar the ferryman, and this fine vessel is the Duchess Gambit. We're
This guy
just
looks
back
like
from
a
Point
custom-made
Lookout, but it
character.
won't be long before we set off again.
He's got a different hat
Interested?
than what I think we have seen before, and a mustache that I'm not sure we've seen before.
You look like a woman who's been around the wastes, so I'll cut right to it. In Point Lookout, you'll find fresh-grown food, mysterious locales, and treasures as of yet unlooted. But keep your wits about you, because there's more than a few exotic critters and inhospitable locals. So stay here if you're too dainty to rough it.
It really doesn't tell me anything, though, about do I need to be at level 10, 15, 30? Let's see.
You should have seen her back in her heyday. Why, we traveled up and down the coast from the Commonwealth to the Broken Banks. Good times, but these days she's not fit to
What's
take
the
out
Broken
coast.
Banks?
Too many spouts ready to drown her, and too many critters
Is that what
looking for
Florida
lunch.
got turned
But
into?
the Point Lookout run is good enough for now. We've got a sweet deal ferrying cargo and the occasional traveler. Down south, this side of the bay, there's a soggy strand of beach called Point Lookout. Oh, it's got it all. Ruins of ancient pleasure towns, mysterious swamps bristling with treasure, and all practically untouched by outsiders. But if you're curious, I could offer you a ride over to that faraway land. For a nominal fee, of course.
It'd be funny if he wants like 10,000 caps or something.
Down south. Oh,
Same line of dialogue twice.
Nadine. Sprightly little tomboy with more curiosity than common sense, that one. Caused so much trouble on the trip that I probably would have thrown her overboard if she hadn't reminded me of myself at her age. Haven't seen her since we hit land at Point Lookout. But knowing her, I'll bet she's gotten herself in plenty of trouble.
So it almost seems like you're gonna run into Nadine fairly quickly, and she might be your companion for Point Lookout.
Looking for fame and fortune? Hoping to cultivate the delicious punga fruit? Or just looking to run away from your life on these dreary shores?
So you can get wild punja fruit. We can buy 2 of these for 330, not a ridiculous amount. We'll buy all of that. Might as well just buy that. And buy all that. You know what, we'll just buy all but 1 of these. Do we have anything to sell? Hellfire armor and Hellfire helmet. We may want to hold on to that. Although I don't know a specific reason why we would hold on to it. Just clear out our inventory. And we have like all this adopted biogel, which is HP plus 150, where everything else is way less. Alien biogel that hasn't been adapted is 30. This alien epoxy seems to really not have any value. But would we want to sell any of it? I mean, we could probably sell like 50 if necessary, but nothing has weight. So let's only really sell things that have weight. Let's see. Large alien crystals, again, just money makers, it seems like. They didn't seem to have any other value to them. There we go.
Once you've got a ticket, just head into the cabin and settle in on the cot. We'll be there in no time.
Okay.
Good stuff, isn't it? Actual healthy food grown in the actual ground and everything. There's a few places out in the point where it grows naturally. One group of tribals have cultivated and refined it, but they're not big on sharing. Don't even ask how I get my hands on the refined crop. A magician never reveals his secrets, does he?
Okay.
Good travels to you.
Help.
I don't think there's anything new to say to her.
Please, find my daughter.
Okay. And so now the quest is rest during the trip to Point Lookout. So if she's still there and I'm still here, then you would think that everybody's going to get traveled to Point Lookout, but I assume that's not the case. Dog meat will be waiting outside of Vault 101. Not that that matters, because I had him waiting in the house. Yep. This definitely feels like a take on Louisiana, the deep south of the United States. But it also kind of feels like a lot of the south of the United States may have gotten nuked and moved border north. And yeah, the idea of things moving around
Welcome to Point
after
Lookout,
200
my
years
friend.
would make
The
sense.
trip was fine. The weather's nice and damp, and
That was a kind of
everything out there
nice
looks
cutscene,
pleasant
but
as
it
ever.
really didn't
Looks like
show us
nothing's
anything.
changed since my last visit, except all that smoke I saw on the way in. Oh, nothing much. Just old Calvert Mansion. Just a huge abandoned estate teeming with who knows what opportunities for profitable scavenging. You know, nothing much. I know I said Point Lookout was perfect for treasure hunters, but it's a rare day when you get a beacon like that.
Alright.
You're staring at it, friend. See the glorious boardwalk? Fabled pleasure
So the
town
story
on the sunny
wants us
past.
just to investigate
And
the
beyond
mansion.
It lies the haunted swamplands. Who knows what's hidden in them? But while you get your bearings, my friend runs an excellent supply shop right here near the boardwalk.
So
Depends what you're looking for.
I'm wondering
If
if
you need
my
supplies,
memory is
head
just
to the shop
wrong and
over
there
at
is
the
no
end of these docks.
living Chinese
Convenient?
soldier
I get caps for
in
refilling
Fallout
you.
3.
If you
It
need
might
a
have been
place
in
to
New
stay,
Vegas or
there's an
Fallout
old motel
4,
further into
and I
town.
just heard
The
about it.
beds there are still pretty soft, even if it's because they're full of lice. And if you're looking for some hunting, there's a fella named Plick who runs a club out in the Northeast. Strictly for high rollers, though. Good travels to you.
Now knowing that New Vegas exists, also, you have to kind of look at Point Lookout through that perspective of, was this potentially the first test bed of potentially having kind of more of a gambling casino type area. Of course, New Vegas makes a lot more sense, and Las Vegas makes a lot more sense than New Orleans. I think for most people, there's quite a lot of things here, but I feel like these fast travel locations may really be very short fast travel stations. Like it may very well just be a small building. This definitely feels like a different texture. These buildings feel very different. What is that called? They're calling this Pilgrim's Landing. You know what I think this is? Is the boardwalk something? I want to say Coney Bay. Yeah, so this I think is just New Jersey, not New Orleans, which would make a lot more sense. To go all the way to New Orleans would be a little weird. Because if you're going to open that door, you might as well then have the entirety of the world open to you as far as different locations. And I don't think a Fallout 5 or a Fallout 6 would make sense if you could jump between like East Coast, West Coast, and you were just moving all over the planet. So we have a guy named the Scrapper. And another Scrapper. So, irradiated hillbilly New Jerseyites is what I think I'm getting from this. Double barrel shotgun is new. Yeast is new. Human flesh probably not needed so much. Baseball bat, buff out, and harmonica. It's all old. Of course, we're just going to be over leveled again. Calvert Mansion might be some kind of famous here's the fruit. Just growing here. Yeah, Calvert Mansion might be some kind of famous mansion in New Jersey, or it might be like the governor's mansion or something. Here we've got new 3D models and textures. Again. So I appreciate seeing something different, and I appreciate how it does seem like they are trying to go in a different direction. Now I couldn't fast travel back to Megaton to get anything I needed, so if they were to throw a quest in here to get scrap metal or something, I would just have to once again collect it all. Which that works just as well as, say, the Pitt, which stripped me of all of my equipment and then had me collecting a bunch of stuff and starting over from scratch. I guess I could have been completely overburdened with, over encumbered with items when I took this trip. If I was like really paranoid of needing something. Help the mansion's invaders. Alright. We have a guy named Desmond, turret, and a tribal. And I guess tribals are kind of this So we've got a ghoul with technology. We got a dog. We got Desmond. We got turret.
But you need to help me if you want to stay alive. They've been at it all night. I think they are just about to breach the inner walls. Follow me. I'm going to go check it out.
He sounds like a ghoul. I assume he's a ghoul.
Hey, over here.
We'll have to come back and collect.
It looks like they're coming in from somewhere upstairs. Hurry, follow me.
So we've got this nice little follow Desmond.
Go through these doors and up the stairs. Find where they are coming in and stop them. I'll be keeping an eye on the cameras down here. Hurry.
These doors? Or these doors?
Over there.
Return.
So they're not so tribal that they don't use guns. So that was supposed to be like a scripted sequence, and it didn't trigger fast enough. The game does not seem to give us a choice to pick sides, which in all fairness, might as well not do that, because every time it has tried to have us pick sides before, it's been a joke completely as to who the good guy was and the bad guy. It was so poorly written and so obvious that
Sleep forever.
it is possible, though, if you did this DLC fairly early, you might feel like you wouldn't want to side with a ghoul ever. The game tries to make you side with the logical the intelligent ghouls. For the,
Looks like an explosion should do the trick. Maybe there's something explosive near the hole you can shoot.
block off the breach in the east wing. Yep.
Hey,
So that's
over
one.
here. Good job blocking off that hole. Hurry and get in here. Looks like they're about to breach from the east wing.
Want to try and be fairly careful not to shoot people, shoot Desmond. So this is just like a really big mansion that's been besieged a few times. Was I supposed to fall down there? Let's go ahead and heal ourselves while we're here. We've got the creepy dolls and just your standard everything on shelves. So this is clearly one of those DLCs though where they aren't going to have you reset the standard gameplay mechanic, and you are instead going to just still search and have a whole bunch of trailer trash. Wow, the physics on that just broke terribly. Take a couple bottles of wine. What are you supposed to take from being in a wine cellar, other than somebody tried to make a wine cellar? Like that they modeled a wine cellar. Confederate hat. Take this fishing pole, that seems new. Rest of this seems old. Yeah, they managed to make square cubicles for wine, which is not really how I would imagine a wine cellar would look. And fingers, I guess we'll be collecting fingers. The physics were totally broken, and then we have creepy mannequins. We might as well just use mats if it's going to get down to this point. And see, the wine cellars are clearly using the same wood textures and designs as the bookcases, I would guess. Gonna become over encumbered if I'm not careful. Take some bobby pins, stim packs. Always a few more stim packs. What we didn't find in the basement is any evidence really to an effect of Desmond being particularly evil. It is an interesting question as far as if they were going to try and include things like the New Jersey Turnpike and just New Jersey in general being a collection of really, really small cities that nobody really knows where they are at any time in New Jersey, other than by the roads. I don't know if that would actually make a good gameplay location. And it kind of is a great example of how even an area that might be very dense and populous, if it doesn't have recognizable historical landmarks, it doesn't make for a good location in a video game, because people will just not relate to it and won't know where they are. Even the Capital Wasteland is a little specific to people. Wow, I'm almost dead. I'm gonna have to watch my health. Yeah, the Capital Wasteland is a little specific to people in the Washington D.C. capital area. They kind of paint themselves in a funny situation too, where north of the DC area would start to be like Manhattan. So you almost start to wonder if the Commonwealth that's talked about with all their technology might actually be Manhattan and not Canada. Because I had always taken it as Canada. But maybe that's not right. Here we have another mole rat and a Brahmin head. A mole rat head. I might start running out of bullets here. Should be careful. Now, fend off the last of the invaders, it says.
That's one less way for them to get in. Follow me. Yeah. If you have any mines, now's the time to use them. They could come in through any of the boarded up doors at any second.
Okay. Do we have any mines? Just trying to get rid of things. Nope. I don't have any mines. Lever action rifle at 39. See how this works. It looks like it's gonna fire like the BB gun. Okay. So.
Okay, any second now. Get ready. Here they come. Second floor on the right.
Didn't realize they were going to come this way. So it feels like they have maybe some obsession with purity, which maybe the punja fruit plays a role in that.
More of them on the right, first floor. They're still moving.
Come on. Yeah, the double barrel shotgun also does not feel like it's gonna work. Captain's sidearm. Huey the dog is unconscious.
Ever again. The door on the left, first floor.
Headshot. Head. Body shot. Body shot. Oh, this is not working at all. Alright, good old-fashioned Chinese assault rifle. Then. And we need to kind of stop goofing around. Because something here is lowering my health. A lot more than I think it should be. Like, we have a damage resistance of 78. If that's not enough, then what would something like Workman's Coveralls or Tribal Garb, which barely has a damage resistance of 12, do for us?
Front door. Get ready. Cover me.
Did you get it? So here's like the dog died. And clearly there's going to be a story here. I think. One would assume. Not everybody has a finger, so not all of these guys are dead. The dog died, and then now the dog is back alive. So both of them are back alive. Interesting that they could even die. I guess they really just get knocked unconscious.
So, my hero. Think you came in and rescued me right in the nick of time? Not hardly. Had it all well in hand, and I didn't even need to use the failsafe. But that would have done a real number on some of the paintings, so just as well you were here. Anyway, name's Desmond.
I wonder if he is the original inhabitant, being a ghoul.
The type that kills everyone outside of my safe room and leaves a hell of a mess to clean up. Standard type. Not worth wasting on ignorant savages like them, honestly. Just as well you came along when you did. So, tell you what I'll do.
It's
I'll
funny,
share a few tips
mustache
the next
again.
time you're making a dramatic final stand.
The superior defender perk has been added. You can now do more damage and have better defense when standing still. Any chance of getting more training?
Oh, there's always a chance, certainly. But what you earn depends on how well you can follow directions. You're not the most incompetent waster I've ever met. I think we could put you to work and figure out what's going on here. Your reward would be considerable, since I know that's what you wasters value. Decide.
Let's see. What do you want me to do about the tribals? What do you know about the tribals?
They're brainless morons who worship some crazy spirit. What's to know?
Have you seen a name
I've been
Nadine?
around for a long goddamn time. The last time I knew a bird named Nadine, I still had skin. There was some girl who came nosing around here a few weeks back, but she ran off before I could introduce myself.
Okay. What's your story?
My story? Tell you what, kid. My story's a lot like a deathclaw's tongue. It's long, messy, and you don't want to get too personal with it. Understand? Suffice it to say, I have business in Point Lookout. If you help, you will be repaid for your efforts. That's all you want to fucking know.
Again, it's always weird when there's just like cussing in this game. It seems like it comes out of the blue, and then there's definitely a possibility that you could play for 10, 15 hours and not hear another cuss word. Sometimes it can get a little ridiculous when you have just like the same line of dialogue that has cussing in it, and it stands out because it's just getting repeated over and over again. In older games, that certainly was the case. I'm thinking like Wolfenstein 3D, the Mein Leben phrase, although I don't know if that actually, I don't think that actually is a cuss word, but that was certainly a sound effect that got played a lot. But yeah, I feel like it comes off as unnatural dialogue and cussing for cussing's sake to make it feel more mature when it really isn't. Like, mentally, this story is not that mature because it's very basic and simplistic ideas with no real twists or surprises.
You need to learn to pay attention when I speak. Those mud lovers want me dead and haven't extended the common fucking courtesy of telling me why. So, I need
Put
you
that
to find
neck
a way
pillow
into their
back on.
commune and figure out what's going through their addled little heads. Be
Okay.
a good pup, and old Desmond will give you a treat. And of course, who knows what riches they have for you to steal. Easy peasy. Right about now, they'll be wondering what happened to their hunting party.
Become a tribal.
What? Like you've never done something unpleasant for the promise of your own personal gain? Give it a rest, Saint. Just head up to the cathedral and ask real nice. When you're in, you'll find the bastard in charge and find out what they're up to. I just need information. No need for violence. Yet.
Okay.
Back to business.
Okay. And overall, it doesn't seem like there's too much here. Let's see. We could see if maybe there's some bullets of the right kind to grab. That's about all I'm really concerned about. That and possibly some bobby pins. He's got all kinds of guns here in case you needed to reset because you had left everything, or in case you'd come to this DLC very underprepared. And like the Aqua Pura as a drink never really has played a part or a role. Punja experiment. Apparently creating electricity. Yeah. So you do the whole main story and you get this access to like infinite pure water, and then really don't need it. Yep. And if anything, that is kind of more to the problem and the point of the problem with the main game in general is that there really isn't any time where you actually need to eat food. I'm gonna generically just assume that this local map, that there really isn't anything too special around here. I think there might be a safe room or some secret, but the safe room might literally just be back here in this room. There's definitely not like verticality to the local map. Alright. Okay. So before we follow the main story quest, which there's still a high chance we do want to just kind of rush through all of this. Let's go see if we can make it to the lighthouse. While this is a much bigger mansion and house than anything we really saw in the main game, and that does establish an interesting idea that there could have been bigger houses and more mansion like dungeon areas in the main game, particularly if you were going to remake this. This again feels like DLC though, that could be its own separate gameplay element. So yeah, I wouldn't remake the game and then bring Point Lookout to. Here you have someone who just died sitting on the bench watching the world end with a baby cradle, which I don't know if there's an implication there. So you have this flower, but you can't pick up the flower. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if the assumption is all the empty cradles imply that babies did die fairly soon after the bombs fell from radiation, or and were buried, or whether they died in their cradles as people were shooting themselves in the head and some animals or something just came and grabbed them and ate them. Babies, I suppose, not having really formed bones, wouldn't leave that same skeleton. Yeah, I don't know if there's particularly a safe way to drop down here. What is this? Just a standard Mirelurk. Yeah. And I guess this is part of a Mirelurk. So you've got a dinghy, or not a dinghy, a buoy is what that's called. Then you've got another dead person. Literally nothing in the suitcase. Camera, boat. And then maybe an ash pile. Somebody else. Right. So unless the rads get particularly high, it probably won't be too much to just swim over here. And I wouldn't be surprised at this rate if it is just a Mylurk dungeon. This is being labeled as a swamp lurk instead of a Mylurk king. We'll search these guys and see if there's anything new on them. Nope. Seems like it is probably just a reskin of Mylurks. But you can't blame them for bringing them back in this DLC because they're kind of underused in the main game. Let's see. It feels to me like there probably is nothing around the edges here. And yeah, we'll have to find out if they're going to do something that's like a collectible or something to find. And you do have to once again ask the question, was BioShock 1 out by this point? The jukebox is not playing any music as far as I can tell. Because if BioShock 1 was out at this point, then this is clearly a reference to the lighthouse in BioShock 1. Or at least I would assume that. Although a lighthouse is a lighthouse is a lighthouse, so this could just be, it makes sense for there to be a lighthouse in like on the boardwalk. This game definitely came out before the ending of BioShock Infinity, where they make a much bigger deal about the lighthouse. All these people have cameras, so I kind of just assumed that this is a tourist group that got nuked and died all at once. Nobody seems to have any use to move these bodies ever. They just get left. It's kind of silly, but it's not really unbelievable either. This lighthouse probably is like the satellite towers that were in the main game, where it's just a location where you can climb to the top and maybe find a few things. But there's really nothing to see over here. It's just a wall of gray fog. Alright. Activate lighthouse mechanism. Activate beacon switch. Activate ham radio. Take that holotape note. Is there anything else worth taking? Let's listen to the note. Couldn't raise you on the phone this morning, so I had Journey bring you this note. Your delivery for the store got turned around these new roads and had an accident. He's run off the road by the cathedral. They'll need some time to sort things out, but Pagano probably won't want to wait that long to replace lighthouses. Beacon bulbs, you might want to get over to the wreck yourself and hand deliver the bulbs. So we need light bulbs to light up the lighthouse. Yay. As a side quest. Meanwhile, we can just fast travel to the creepy, spooky house. And seems like if it's gonna have us walk so many places, wouldn't it make more sense to go to the Beachview campsite first? Or the mine, or USS Ozymandias? Yep. Might as well just check out all these locations. This is the only DLC where I really feel like they are trying for something a little bit similar to what the main game is, where like the Operation Anchorage was completely different, and like the Broken Steel DLC was just kind of more of the same. So these send out radioactive explosive balls. Good to know. And seemingly there's nothing else here at the campsite. Just a skull target practice. So does kind of feel like they're giving us some fast travel locations just so you don't end up having a medium-sized overworld location that is difficult to actually move around, because I could see it being a hassle to walk from here to here if you know there's really not anything in between here and here. But it doesn't really feel like you're solving a problem other than the one you created for yourself. We have a new kind of doll, with the dolls being stabbed through the hand. That's creepy. But or stabbed through the neck here. Then we've got a whole bunch of creepy doll heads. Shack door to the burned out basement. Well, at least that looks like something. So let's go ahead and check this out. It almost feels like, alright, so this has got to open some other way later on. Feels like maybe becoming a tribal changes perhaps how you might perceive the world or how you interact with the world. It might become a lot more mystical and weird. Even the clothes these guys are wearing seems to really just be like pre-bought fabric textures from the game. From like a asset store, instead of being more in line with the Fallout 3 game. Like, this really does just feel like a completely different game in the same engine. At a certain level, I think some DLC, an early DLC, very well may have been a bit more of a experiment in letting interns or just people who hadn't really proven themselves make a pitch for a new game, a new intellectual property outside of the Fallout universe. And then each bit of DLC could have started off as a game pitch or its own standalone game. And then I wouldn't be surprised if ZeniMax or Bethesda came in and said, nope, we're going to just take these ideas and we're going to put the Fallout skin over it so it feels like a Fallout game a little bit, even though it really doesn't. Hey, that's just a Mylock Hunter. I'm just gonna generically ignore. It's not drown. Ozymandias is the name of one of the characters in the famous comic book, The Watchmen. So this might be a Watchmen reference. But also, as Ozymandias might be a reference to something else that I'm not 100% informed on. Almost certainly that is the case. Confederate hat, fishing pole, Confederate hat. It definitely feels like you wouldn't run into this many Confederate hats in New Jersey. So there is this kind of inconsistency that it feels like, where Point Lookout feels like it should be New Jersey. Maybe New Jersey is actually north of Washington, D.C. Yeah, I guess it is. So I have no idea where we are. Here's an interesting tilt on everything. Just having an engine being that's able to tilt everything is something that would have been groundbreaking when this game came out, and is kind of absolutely nothing. You see, now the tables seems like it tilted one way and this way, so it really feels like the camera is tilting more than the actual boat is tilting. Let's check what radio we actually can receive at the moment. Nothing. Except for Warner's distress signal. Right. This is a different terminal. Baishi Energy Partners Natural Gas Survey Vessel, USS Ozymandias. Pause now if you want to read this. So we have to find these 3 codes. Pause now if you want to read this. Pause now. A lot of text here. Pause now. Pause now. Pause now. Alright. So, an antique land is also a quest. Now, so we have 2 quests out of, I imagine, 2 or 3. If I set this as our quest, we can see these will all take us far in the other direction, so we'll deal with those later. And this has to have a key. You can't just pick it. This is very weird, I'd say. Because you start here, and you get the feeling that it's tilted this way. But then as you start to move the camera, it feels like it's tilted the other way. And so the engine, I don't think, actually is successfully tilting the world in that area. I think it is cheating by messing with the camera angles and the vision of the player. And unless we run into a problem where we can't climb up a wall, we should be fairly fine. Though, that is a possibility, is that we'll hit a beach that has just a rock wall around it. Mylark egg clutches, we've seen those before. I'm looking for the Herzog mine. Let's go up this way. See if we can jump around. That might be high enough for us. Now, I do see that, so that might be the mine entrance. Of course, anything could be the mine entrance. Discover the Herzog mine. Here it is. The only person I know by the name Herzog is like Werner Herzog, a movie critic. Is that speakers? Yes, it is. So somebody's trying to scare me off. It's probably a kid. While we're at it, we might as well repair some things. Get rid of some rads. Teddy bear. Beer. Mines and mine carts would help half of the it would help half of the caves that we ran into throughout the main game, if there was a little bit more of a mining presence happening there, and it wasn't just what felt like natural caves being carved out of the wood by either human hands or giant fire ant hands. This doesn't really make a lot of sense though. There's basically no scenario where somebody should have made it this far in the game and that they would actually be scared by these sound effects in any way, or the dead bodies, or the traps. Like, we would have fought super mutants at this point. Was there a grenade actually in that baseball bat? I mean, that pitching machine. What's... What I find interesting is that we could trigger a camera flashing in your face. If that was going to be a thing, that really is a gimmick that you could have done a lot more often. More than once. Yes, there was a couple times where we got flash grenaded, and I guess if more characters had flash grenades, then there might be something to that idea. But yeah, not that many people actually did have flash grenades or grenades of any sort that they would throw at us. If anything, I would suspect that the dead bodies we're seeing here might have been placed intentionally to scare people away. Here you have just a bunch of money. I guess that would be a decent use for skeletons. Just kind of nothing here. And local map. Says this is the only way to go. Miner's Rest. Which I think is probably just going to be like a little lamplighter if I was to guess. Yep.
You made it past my traps? I mean, get out of here, lady. Aren't you afraid the ghost will get you?
Let's see. Let's go with this one.
No, I mean it, lady. The ghost will melt your brain to mush. You need to get out of here, and fast. So what if it was? I bagged meaner than you, and I'll do it again. Well, alright. But any funny business, and I'll pop you on. My name's Kenny, and I'm the boss of this mine.
Tell me about yourself, Kenny.
I bet you can't beat me in a race. You look real slow.
I might not be able to race. Actually, playing with a controller.
I don't know.
If we did that.
I ran away a long time ago. I live here all by myself.
That sounded like two lines of dialogue cut badly together.
I wasn't born right. Mama hid me in the basement, and Pappy kinda just forgot about me. But I knew I had to go before I grew up. Look at me! I don't get the marks. I go around the wets and folk will shoot at me, thinking I was one of your type. I already told you I ran away.
So they...
Shut up about it, alright?
They basically ostracize anybody that looks what we would consider normal.
I got bored locked up in the basement all the time. So, I started taking things apart and putting them back together again. Things aren't so strange when you can see all the stuff that makes them. You know, see something's insides? That's what the real thing is. I'm grown up enough already, and I'm the only thing I can be. Me. The grown-ups like my mom and pop just live in the wet. They're okay. They just don't trust outsiders like you. Most think I'm an outsider too, because I don't got the markings on me. I tend to stay away from the grown-ups. Except when they have a campfire. Some nights I hear them dancing. Then I sneak out to watch. Anybody ever say you talk too much? Old Man Herzog's mine hole isn't much, but it's home. He was a mean old man. Owned this mine 1,000,000 years ago.
A lot of dialogue here.
Real hard, and didn't give them any money or food for their kid. One day, a bunch of miners sat down and just stopped working. Old man Herzog, he didn't like that. Not a bit. So he blew them all up with a million tons of dynamite. No one wanted to work in the mine after that. Then old Herzog came down here and hung himself. They say his angry ghost still haunts the mine. That doesn't scare me, though.
So it sounds like another strike story that they're probably going to glaze over again, like the Pit.
Swamp folk know old Herzog's mine hole, say it's haunted. So I knew most folk wouldn't want it this way, except outsiders like you. Doesn't usually take more than a clapperjaw and a leg to scare them off. I go out to play some days. I might bag me a shellman to eat. Most days, I just sit here with my stories and toys, though. Sure, I was getting tired of that
Way too
anyway.
much dialogue.
I don't know, lady. You didn't try to kill me, and you seem pretty nice for a grown-up. But still, how do I know I can trust you?
So your speech 87% check that we could turn this into our temporary housing.
Well, I guess you can stay here when you need to, and you can leave your stuff. I won't mess with it. So, do you like games? Want to play hide and seek or tag or something?
Let's see.
Wait here and count to 10 slowly, then see if you can find me, okay? No cheating. Close your eyes. Count to 10. Go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So are we looking for anything like specific here? We think there's going to be anything specific here. We now have a kind of place. Pink pint-sized slasher mask. We'll take that. I don't think we have that. Local map. Came in. There seems to be a door to point lookout. Rather close. Which... Came in through the Herzog mine. So the door to point lookout is here. Interesting. So we need to kind of look around over here a little bit, and then that may just be it. Have we been this way? Nope. There's a black damp shaft. Check. I assume the hide and seek is within this general area. And this is a just shallow radiation pool. It's really not enough map here for me to really believe that there's anywhere you can hide and he could be hiding. I have to kind of assume that he went through one of the doors. And choosing to play hide and seek with him, I would hope that that doesn't lead to him just immediately dying as a character, because we just invested that energy to talk to him and get to know him. Not a little bit at least. He's still kind of a nothing character, as much as most of the characters in this game are nothing characters. Alright. Well, the place we haven't been would be here. Seems like you could jump down there and then never get up. Or you take probably the long way around. Then potentially changing the drop rates and the kinds of items you can find in certain inventories does open the door to needing to search inventories of items that I really wouldn't have had to search had they not done that. So it brings back some gameplay, I guess. Unfortunately, it's not the good gameplay of Fallout 3, because there's actually very little of that. These swamp lurks spit mud at you, where the Mirelurk Kings do more of a energy pulse at you. Okay, so this water actually leads only one direction. This water may only lead in one direction too. Like I can't. It's shallow water. There's nowhere to go. So they put the lights here so you can see the way back up. I can take you back up here. I can take you back up here. I do think that means this is the only way. Irradiated Kinney Bear added. So there was like a named teddy bear, which that feels like that may have been a quest. That may have been the quest you had to do to get this as your house if you couldn't pass the speech check. That'd be very believable. I still don't really want to use bats. Let's check our live map here. There's a danger, certainly, when you see something like this that's kind of a caved-in area, that there is that slight feeling that maybe you're supposed to come back at some point and that area might be exploded. So you have a Brahmin, moonshine. We have a guy who's hanging by his neck, which almost certainly that would have snapped off over time. What's funny is they're Brahmin though, so the two-headed cows would have had to have been around when this guy hung himself. And here you have a rope texture that we just don't see anywhere else in the game. So a lot of times when the timeline just feels fairly confused as to when these events would have happened. Right. Still looking around. Fission batteries, bottle caps. Hmm. And from the looks of it, I think you're just supposed to jump off over the wall here. The lights here tell you to go up here to this point. And I may have just screwed myself. They may have accidentally put a rock here that wasn't supposed to be here, or they may have forgotten to put a rock here that was supposed to be here, because it certainly doesn't benefit anybody to have somebody stuck like this. I have a hard time believing I'm gonna find enough purchase where I could get above this. It's like, it feels like we're really close. Wow, we may be able to pull this off. Yeah, I feel like I'm just kind of getting stuck. Close, but no cigar. Alright. Let's just reload to this point. With the exception of the Kinney Bear, I don't think anything really matters here, so we can run through this a lot faster. Never did get quite the explanation as to why these Mirelurks look so human. It would almost make sense if you just were going to say everything was the forced human evolution virus, and that's where all these different people came from, or humanoid looking monsters came from. Right. So, yeah, I just don't think they meant for you to get back there and walk back there. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of no QA tester really walked this way thinking, oh, the light means go this way. But that's kind of what I took it for, is that the light meant to go this way. And then this puts you around in a circle. Even a Chinese assault rifle is not getting the one-shot kills I would like to be getting. And this guy's just too close. Unloading entire clips into this guy to do 2 or 3 bars of damage. Alright, let's check the local map. I'm gonna just kind of mark these areas as visited and assume that I've seen everything. Again, follow the glowing lights, but don't follow them too carefully. So that this is a fairly large area that is all connected into one big loop, and all that it led to was getting a teddy bear. So when we come back here, will the kid be back? And can we give the teddy bear to him? Or are we still playing hide and seek? Let's wait an hour.
Hi, what's up?
Let's see. I found your teddy bear.
Kenny Bear! You're the greatest! Sure, see ya.
Alright, and we now have this hole at Miner's Rest, which is kind of quite far away from where we started at Herzog Mine. So far we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 locations. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 more locations. I guess we've done actually 9 of 18. So it doesn't feel like these locations, these fast travel locations, are going to be much of anything. And that was definitely the case in the main game also, where there was just not that much really going on. So there might be a lot more story that happens with this. But I imagine that this is going to be just like 6 hours of gameplay and then we'll be done. So I want to end now because my neck is hurting a little bit, and whenever I start to it starts to hurt even a little bit, I want to be fairly careful and take breaks at that point. We did get a perk for standing still and firing, and that one perk might actually be fairly useful. So when we complete the 2 quests we have right now, we'll be at 50 quests. So I wouldn't be surprised if there actually are only 50 quests in the entire game, or maybe 51. As far as locations discovered, with this final bit of DLC, we'll be put over 200 locations. It's kind of shockingly low, the number of people they think we've killed, although that may be named people we killed, but that doesn't make any sense either, because I didn't kill 900 named people. It's over double the number of creatures, and we have picked nearly 400 locks where we've hacked only 155, so there's definitely an imbalance there that would need to be addressed, or I would have liked to seen addressed. We've never been addicted, so we could certainly end an episode just trying to take as many drugs as possible. See if we can actually kill ourselves. We never picked any pockets. We never exploded any pants. We haven't done any Sandman kills. We're still very good Messiah level. We've apparently done 2 paralyzing punches. We've never disabled a robot. And we can't do contracts because we don't have that perk. We've only been visited by the mysterious stranger 39 times, which certainly feels like that has happened more often, but I guess maybe it hasn't. As far as items go, we are not really getting a ton of items either. Nothing that looks particularly interesting. We already have a ton of things. The amount of bullets we have for some of these guns are ridiculous. There's just no way you needed to pick up this many bullets, nor is there a reason for the game to have this many bullets types when there aren't enough guns to justify that many bullet types. I'm going to make a safety save, and that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.